man.
Don't smell like a garage sale. It's the Patrick Morning Show. How are you? Here we are, breaking it all down. Big day. Super excited. I should turn on Zacco. With Zacco. Oh, little Zacco. Hi, Zacco Directo.
What's happening, Hawk?
It's all happening, man. I didn't know you were here, and then there you were. Hi.
There he is.
How the hell are you? Anything new?
Not really. Same as yesterday.
Nothing. No, wait a minute. Nothing significant in your life has changed in the last 24 hours? Come on, dude.
I don't think so.
You got to try harder, man.
Were you at the
Do
Wild
something
game last
different.
night?
Oh, yeah.
Did he have a broken nose? Did the guy elbow him and break his nose, or was he just...
Well, he's going to be out. We don't know how long, but he's going to be out. So
Johansson, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he broke something. Something didn't.
God, I hope it wasn't the orbital bone. Even saying the words "broken orbital bone."
Yeah,
makes me wanna go
awful.
home.
Yeah.
Do we have enough players to play against Nashville on Saturday or not?
No, and it should be noted. I mean, if you're just watching scores, like you might get disappointed in the Wild, but they played a hell of a game yesterday. Max said it perfectly earlier. They played a really great game. They just, Connor McDavid, the coward himself.
Jeez.
Oh boy,
Coward McDavid.
He knows that he won't ever have to fight. He won't ever have to do anything. He can just, and he chicken wings his elbow out.
He definitely did, by the way.
The stupidest, cheapest things I've ever seen, and takes out yet another player for the rest of the game. Johansson's out. Tough third period, guys. I know you're out, Faber and Spurgeon and Brodin and Kaprizov, but, why not? Why not add another player to that list now? So
Is this a joke?
it's
No, it's not a joke.
ridiculous.
It's not a
And Middleton was very colorful last night after the game, and it was a very frustrated Wild locker room, but wow.
Here's Erickson Eck on asking the referee, "What the hell was that about?"
Oh my God!
No, I didn't see it. I asked him what happened. He said he got his own stick in the face, but
That's what the ref said?
yeah.
Yeah, and John Hines sort of alluded to a similar explanation given to him during that whole sequence as well. The fact that the official basically said, "Oh, his own stick got him." Yeah, his own stick knocked him to the ice and broke something in his face. Yeah, that's real
Rosie.
smart. I'm so like, how do you? If four guys that are in charge of watching this game on the ice that are paid handsomely to do so, and they miss it again. I mean, it's happened multiple times this season alone. Take some pride in your job, guys. In the black and white. I mean, my God.
They didn't want anybody to know.
So yeah, I Hines was very angry, but held his tongue really nicely and said he was going to deal with it internally. But it was a very frustrating night at the X for multiple reasons, and it's just this team. I don't know how much more it can take, but they hung with one of the best teams in the National Hockey League, even without 4 or 5 of their best players.
My life really sucks.
It's okay, Jarek Johansson.
Jarek Johansson.
Tough night in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, the
T-Wolves?
Wolves scored 10 points in the first quarter.
12.
34,
Was
12.
it 12?
10 as well.
34, 12.
No, change your notes.
Yep. Got to change that to 12. They should be proud of that. Okay, so they scored 12.
Had a chance late.
Yeah.
And,
Only lost by 1.
yeah.
Moral victory. It's what we need.
Are they going to make the playoffs?
It's going to be close.
They're going to be a play-in team more than likely.
We'll see.
They'll lose.
Long way to go.
See, because somebody said last night on Barrero that once they get in the playoffs, they're going to have it all figured out.
Doubt it, but hopefully that'd be sweet.
Okay, well, Duckies and buddies.
They can't count on Julius Randle for a 7-game stretch. No.
See, now I'm going to disagree with you on that. Who's Julius Randle?
How bad was the game in
What'd you say, Hawk?
Detroit for you, Hawk?
It was terrible.
What did you just ask?
Who's Julius Randle?
She's an actress.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So good. There's never been a better bit. Has
My
he
favorite
complained yet about that?
Oh, I'm sure. Not to us. I'm sure he's complained to
I
Abbott.
doubt it.
The best part about the whole thing was his trying to explain where
Play it. Play it, please.
Zacho, can you show me where that whole bit is? Where
so
he's trying to explain that some actresses call themselves actors.
Nowadays, they really call themselves actresses. They act like
Should be
actors.
last Friday's date.
Oh, it's so good.
See, tomorrow's the
Carrie
17th.
Ellis.
17th, so the 10th. Hold on.
Princess
So
Bride.
good.
Liar, liar.
No, but you said
Saw.
that it was a him. Doesn't matter if they're an actor or an actress.
You said she's an actress. That's a
Yeah.
she and actress. You went female, female.
Yes.
You didn't say
She's
actor.
an actress. Okay. Yeah.
Here you go.
Boy, your big screen cred, silver screen cred
God,
is
Common loves it
quickly
so much.
slipping away.
What's that?
I've got a couple 13, 14 different text messages
What did
from
I
people
say?
that say Carrie Elwes is an actress.
That's what he said.
I mean, an actor.
Yeah.
Who was the star of The Princess Bride.
Oh,
Rose and Smugly, an actress. No, it's a man who played Wesley, the main character. in
Oh,
The
I had no
Princess
idea.
Bride.
I thought it was. What's the first name?
Carrie Elwes.
Oh, Carrie. I
Yeah.
thought it was. I thought
ELWA.
All right.
Can you just say you did not know who Carrie Elwes was?
I thought it was an actor. I don't remember the name.
Well, it's an actor. not
Yeah,
an
of
actress.
course. I mean, women refer to themselves and whatever they want as actors these days. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm
Although,
fine with
this,
that.
you identified Carrie
I know as an
gal,
actress,
but
right?
He was a
I
man.
thought I miss.
One of these days, Rosie's going to pull out a baton.
Well, I like how he asked for the first name again, as if he was thinking of a different Elvis.
I'm on Rosie's side.
Yeah, you think he was joking.
That's right.
Oh, I thought you said Terry Ellis.
Oh, Terry.
Carrie Ellis.
The best.
Well, she's an actress.
Yep.
She's an actress.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is KFAN.
So good.
It's my favorite bit.
Hi. Brought to you by
Carbonis.
That's right.
Thanks, Carbonis.
Oh, Carbonis. Thank you. Thank you, Carbonis. All right.
Hey, speaking of Carbonis, I thought an idea that was great, but nobody listens to me anymore. I can't blame you guys.
That's because you're in a room by yourself.
That is mostly true.
You're in
So,
your basement. I can't
Carbonis just made me think of
Hammered
Vikings
yourself.
football Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Like the longer the Vikings stay in the playoffs, the better it is financially for the station and iHeartRadio, right? It's like
For sure.
there's more advertising opportunities, more inventory. It's like them losing costs the station money, right? Which is fine. That's part of it. It's you sign up and you hope that they last as long as they can.
Fight like hell.
So all week it's like, man, I wish the Vikings would have stayed in another week or two. We could have really run up the bill and made some more money and made some more revenue. And I go, well, in the future then, why don't we take half the money we potentially could make if the Vikings win, drive down to Iowa and bet against the other squad?
Brilliant.
Right? And just half
Hedge our
it.
bets.
Then hedge and guarantee yourself half of what you would have made no matter what. Now, I don't think the Vikings would love if they knew that the home of the Minnesota Vikings was betting a significant amount of money on the opposing team on a weekly basis. Right? The headline, iHeartRadio bets, $50,000 on Los Angeles Rams. But we could have hedged.
Yeah.
We would have won.
We would have won. Hedge your bet. Now, it also would have been weird if they go on a Super Bowl run and every week we're betting against them
Yeah.
and just making half of what we I'm just saying, I think that idea is solid. Let's bet against them next year, and either way, we're happy. We made some money, whether they move on or don't.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Think of the money it costs just the state.
Sure.
And just think of hosting a home playoff game.
Right.
What that could have meant to
Yep.
even season ticket holders and the amount of money for the market of selling their tickets, right? Just the markups there, and think of the revenue for hotels and
Oh yeah,
that's a lot of money.
The economic impact of just
Huge.
Yes, huge.
Isn't that the whole bit about
Huge.
like what one Twins playoff game does to downtown Minneapolis?
We wouldn't remember that.
Yeah, we haven't had one of
It's been a long
those.
time.
Sorry.
Anyway, hard break for Carbonis because Carbonis brings the food in for Vikings
Yeah.
football Sundays, and this Sunday they just will make food for their own customers, which is great. But Must doesn't eat for free on Sunday.
A big chunk of the U.S. is bracing for below zero weather as part of a polar vortex that is dipping into the lower 48 states. Forecasters say temperatures could plunge 35 degrees below average across the U.S. this month. Starting this weekend, below zero temperatures are possible in the week ahead. From Maine to Idaho, freezing temperatures in the southeast could be a significant departure from the usual January weather. On Inauguration Day, Washington, D.C. is expected to have a high temperature of 28.
Speaking of the lower 48, how do you guys feel about these rumors maybe not rumors. Maybe it's just one guy that's a nut job about the 9 counties in Iowa potentially being, Minnesota, right?
He wants a bid on the Minnesota counties.
Right, sold to the state of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should we care?
No.
Is there anything good in those bottom 9? What are we
farmland?
What are we losing?
My
Probably,
family.
My family?
Your whole family?
I don't know. I got some family
Sold
on the border.
So nothing big.
not that.
Yeah, anything but that.
No, but I mean,
Please don't.
what cities that any of us can name are in those counties that are potentially up for sale? Anything?
Albert Lee-ish?
Albert Lee's in
Yeah,
there?
but I don't know
Maybe?
if that's.
that far?
I don't know if that's far enough south for what they're talking about. Are they?
Does Iowa want these?
Probably for votes, right?
Well, sure.
Put
I
your
would
pants
love
back
it.
on.
Well, we have Deer Creek,
I like that place.
Emmons,
I've been there.
What about Houston?
That's in
Elmore.
Texas, buddy.
No, there's a Houston, Minnesota.
Elmore. The
Elmore.
glue people?
No,
How
Elmore
could you
Leonard.
possibly?
How much they have?
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Oh,
This
yeah.
guy proposed this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
yesterday.
wants to buy
Yeah.
the bottom 9 Minnesota counties
Just to buy them?
and absorb them into.
or just have the government of
Expand the
Iowa
borders.
And make like a.
take them over?
Yeah.
And maybe it is like a Russia-Ukraine thing where they just cross over and take it.
Think of the proximity of gambling. Maybe to move casinos.
Sam
Yeah,
did
yeah.
point that out.
It's
I'm
like
hoping
20
that-
miles closer.
I'm hoping Florida buys Rogers, Minnesota, so I don't have to pay taxes.
Well, that's a really good
Yeah,
point
good
there,
point.
there, Christopher.
Thank you,
because
sir.
if that happens and the lower 9 get absorbed by Iowa and we redraw the lines, you know how many people on the western side of Minnesota will be like, we'll join South Dakota and North
Totally.
Dakota over here.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
we'll
yeah, man.
take no taxes.
Yeah.
But what about Keister?
Keister.
I'm a
How
big
is it?
fan of it.
Yeah.
You want to lose Keister?
Do you still keister drugs when you go to Vegas?
Not anymore.
You ain't got
They
to.
don't care anymore.
See? Anyway, Dallas is going to get down to 34 for a high.
Wow. Damn.
Minneapolis expecting a high on Monday of -2.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think our wind chill's going to be like -30 on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
Burr.
And you guys are taking Monday off, or are you guys in?
No, we were threatened to be replaced by fill-ins, so we are going to do 7 to 9.
Oh, okay.
We should have called his
Good
bluff.
compromise.
We still can.
Yeah, I
we
won't be
still
in on
can.
Monday either.
Yeah.
Well, of course not. You're observing the holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe we should too. Can
Yeah.
we just back out?
Yeah. But one
Like
of you.
Homer Simpson?
But here's
Paul, your hands up.
the thing. When I say it, it's just an empty threat. If one of you were like, "We're not going to work," he'll be like, "Yes." Of
Here's the
course."
No,
problem.
but you
Is
actually
PA
you were the
working?
one.
He
You
did
were
it.
you were the one that said, "Let's take it off," and I was like, "Look at Paul making a call."
He was talking about his undies, though.
Yeah. Well,
then-
that's because Hawk was there and he turns
But
me
Chad
on.
was like, "Yeah, you guys can take it off." He's like, "I'm going to find a fill-in."
that was a bluff.
Should we call his bluff?
Yeah.
I'm
Who's he
I'm
gonna
not good at
find?
poker.
Who's he going to find to do
Get him,
3.5
Zach.
hours
You
of
and
radio
Max.
on Monday?
You and Max.
Fight like hell.
You know, 7
You
to 9 is
kind of
great.
got to
It's
come
a
in to do
great
the NFL
compromise.
playoffs, don't you?
Here's the thing.
If the
I like,
Vikings had played,
here's
sure.
where he's got me. I like this job.
Same.
I like coming
This
in
is the
and
best
talking.
job I'll ever have.
You guys make me laugh. If I don't come in
Yeah.
here, most of the days I just cry all day.
Why? My dad doesn't treat you right?
I lie, really.
7 to 9's going to feel really good, though. Is that really what you guys
that's
going to
a
do?
break.
Yeah, man.
That's,
that's
a nice, that's a
compromise.
nice.
Fresh.
That's a nice
Well, we'll
compliment.
leave at
yeah.
9:01.
That's what I do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
But I have an
Last
idea.
couple months, it's like 9:01. I'm out of here. Paul, your hands up.
That's my idea. My good idea for the day. Every company holiday that everyone else takes off, we should take off. It's a company holiday.
Well, why not Monday?
Well, then let's do it. It's up to you guys. I don't have a spine. He respects you guys.
Who's coming with me?
Wow.
You had me at hello.
Yeah.
You had me.
I don't,
Never
but I
mind.
don't want
I get easy.
But I don't want Hawk to cry all day.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, I love Hawk.
Well, why don't you spend the day with him?
Yeah.
He can come over.
Oh, you're playing the baby card. Oh, I got a baby. I can't leave.
He's coming in tomorrow because that's the only day of the week he wants to come in.
Nice.
Because he wants to see initials.
Yeah,
can't
he
wait
is
to
coming
see
in
him.
tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Tell Abbott that.
Well, we did yesterday.
Plug your flash, stick around for one more?
Yeah, let's do it. One more.
Cool.
All right, so also do sports after this on the Fin.
The Fan.
Public drunkenness.
Welcome back to the Patrick Morning Show.
It's Duckies and Bunnies.
No, that's the It's the next show. We're more like thongs and D-cups.
Jeez.
What?
J.C.
you're
Penney
right.
catalogs.
Yeah, he loves those.
I do. Come on, I wasn't the only one, right?
No, hell no.
Oh, J.C. Penney's?
Yeah.
That's the best.
The best.
No, but did you hear what he did to those catalogs?
Yeah, same thing I did.
Yeah, well, you had to. Again, we didn't all have our highfalutin porn.
I didn't have highfalutin porn.
You know you did.
Your dad was the hustler dad.
He was always in a hurry.
He didn't waste time with Hustler.
No, that was too tame. Right?
Way too tame.
Hawkeye, show these guys the new Walmart logo.
Yeah, and
Yes,
Were
Sam?
you overwhelmed, Ben?
I just
How
wish
innovative it was?
Yeah, I just
Did you
wish
recognize it?
I was on that marketing team that actually redesigned that logo and got to pocket some of that cash.
I'd like to see him do better.
It looks like they put about 5 minutes of work in this and said, like, just submit this. There you go.
how much did they pay for it?
$1.25 million.
What? And all they did was brighten the color,
I think
right?
they brighten. It's a darker blue.
It's like a darker blue and a brighter yellow.
So the yellow really pops now.
Yeah.
Just think of the changes, guys. We're talking every sign outside the store, all the bags, all the signage in store. It's like now the real cost is converting 4,000 stores in the world.
Right. To basically the same thing.
The trucks that we see on the road.
It really looks like they just took it looks like they took the editing part of their phone and just hit contrast.
Yeah.
It's like that's all they did. It's like they just let the computer system make it a little more contrast. They're like, that's it, guys. This is brilliant.
Yeah. We have a big idea for you.
Big idea.
It's a little bit close to home, but a little bit more modern.
Yeah, we don't want to push the customers away.
Yeah,
sure.
I wonder how long it would take if every McDonald's just like 0.1% a day changed the color of yellow in their logo, and how long it would take us to realize. Am I losing my mind, or are they slightly changing this?
You want McDonald's to gaslight us?
Yeah, just over the course of like the next 6 months, just slowly change it till it's a completely different color.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the same marketing team that made our new Minnesota state flag.
Maybe,
because that thing is god awful.
What about when Sonic had
You're
teeth?
not wrong. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was so gross.
The restaurant?
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah, quiet, please.
What do you mean? That
The
was
adults
kind
are
of funny.
talking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it was real funny. The room erupted in laughter.
The restaurant?
Crickets.
Yeah, you're correct. Wasn't my best material.
Well, this is your best material. It's time to do sports, and it's your segment.
One toke over the line.
It's time for Fan 5 on the Power Trip, presented by All Around.
Yeah. Speaking of meat saucing it, the Timberwolves scored 12 points in the first quarter in their game against the Warriors, but they only lost by 116-115. Your Timberwolves, Maxo, are now 21-19. They are at the Knicks tomorrow.
What a mess.
At 6:30.
Is that the lowest amount of points we've scored in the first quarter ever?
Yes. It's got to be, because I think they broke it when they scored 15 a week ago. It's got to be.
The slow start.
And they were lucky to get that second point, or the 12th point.
Was it late in the first quarter?
It was at the end of the first quarter. I think it was Julius Randle got it. Maxo, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Wolves got to learn how to close out these games, man. And as we kind of have alluded to, obviously, the first quarter, even though they only ended up losing by 1, that's the kind of first quarter that dooms you, and it's hard to dig yourself out of that kind of hole, man. So Warriors were down a bunch of players, too, so it's a tough loss. But, I mean, when it's a close game, you're up against Steph Curry, he hits a dagger 3. We've all seen that movie 500 million times. The Wolves are so inconsistent right now, man. Sometimes it seems like they're figuring it out, but then they still, I mean, this late game thing has plagued them all season. I guarantee you, if you added up all the games that they ended up blowing in the third or fourth quarter and you added that to their win total, they'd be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the Western Conference right now. They just got to figure out a way to close these games, or I guess in yesterday's case, start the games because that's a god awful start. I was at the Wild game and I got the notification from the Wolves app from the first quarter. I did the little I didn't even have glasses on and I wiped my eyes because I was like, that can't be right. 12 points in one quarter is absolutely ridiculous, but they have problems offensively. They can get it together defensively here and there, but it's just hard for them to string together consistent quarters and put together a whole game. So they got to find a way to just, I don't know if Chris Finch has to try to change up the lineup, change up the minutes. He's been trying a little bit, but it seems like almost nothing is working. And they just keep getting close, and there is no such thing as moral victories at this point when you come into a season with expectations for a possible championship.
What I can't figure out is just on the outside looking in and listening to all your breakdowns all the time is how many combinations of players can you get?
There's not a whole lot he can do.
I know. It's like at this point in the season, like they keep like, well, we just got to do this, and maybe we change this. Like you don't have a roster of 50 guys,
right? And it has been. I mean, the Dante DiVincenzo thing in the starting lineup,
he's paying off. That's
been working. Yeah, he had 28 yesterday. You look at the box score. This is normally a box score where the Wolves win. Jaden McDaniels has 14. That's rare to happen. Julius Randle had 17, but they're up against a really good team. Steph Curry. Speaking of how far the lineup can go, the Warriors have a 12-man lineup.
Man,
most teams only have about 8. The Warriors have a 12-man lineup. That's why they had like 4 or 5 guys that were down. Draymond Green didn't even play. Jonathan Kuminga, probably their second best player, didn't play, but they have so many different guys that can step up. So the Wolves I
have Dante shoot that shot at the end of last night versus Ant.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be mad at either one. Yeah. Anthony Edwards.
They were both pretty hot last night, but Dante has been hot.
Dante's been awesome. Yeah, you got to feed the hot hand, but also good. Anthony Edwards is having quietly, I mean, he's having one of the best 3-point shooting seasons in NBA history. He's on track to do things that only Steph Curry and James Harden can do, and those are the number 1 and number 2 3-point shooters of all time.
How good would we be if we had Cat right now?
They would be right back to where they were. It's really that simple. They would be a top 3, top 4 team in the Western Conference right now. Not to say that these other teams are bad, but it's the Thunder who we thought.
Who's to blame?
It's the front office. It's everybody, kind of. I mean, it's the front office for messing with a core that gelled, that clearly, I think, from the outside looking in, a lot of us, we all knew how important Karl Anthony Towns was on the court. I think a lot of people are underestimating how important he was off the court and how much of a guy that he was that kind of got along with everybody and was able to bring this team together. He was the guy, if you look, whenever somebody else was getting an award, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, Cat was there to help support him. Naz Reid, 6th Man of the Year, Cat was there to help support him. I think a lot of people didn't like Minnesota fans. We didn't like the whining and whatnot, but I don't think people realized that this dude was far from a locker room cancer. Everybody on that team loved him. So, I mean...
Ben was pissed. The day it happened, he was pissed.
I was too.
Pissed about what?
I didn't think you were listening.
I think
the Cat being traded.
Yeah, right.
I think the thing more to what Max always said, though, is you watch the game, and I don't know a lot about basketball. They are constantly out-rebounded on the offensive side of the glass.
So sad.
Because the second Rudy comes out of the game, they don't have enough height, and Julius doesn't put in enough effort.
They're relying on Dante to consistently rebound, and he's been great at doing things like that, but they need offense. Nobody else on the starting lineup has any type of gravity to
last
them.
Night they lost on offense rebound. Yeah. They miss a free throw and then ball's tipped and they get an offensive rebound. Game over. So
I only saw one game in the last 15, 20 years. But man, did Rudy look bored.
I mean,
at the game you were at?
At the game I was at.
In Detroit?
Yeah, he just didn't look like he looked like he had something better to do.
Yeah. I think the vibes are just at a real low right now on this team. It's when they're having fun. It's fun when Anthony Edwards is out there smiling and cracking jokes and having fun, but most nights
complains a lot.
They look like they're not. He is not having fun this season, and I don't think anybody on the Wolves is, and it's going to be
it was where I went on Saturday night, and what's fun about the T-Wolves is it's fun being in this market for 30 plus years to see what winning does. I mean, it's crazy to walk into Target Center and it is packed every freaking game.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But on Saturday night, there's just the vibe was down. I mean, I feel like the fan base, it's a little bit, we're kind of waiting for this thing to get figured out. Early in the year, people were excited. It's a packed Target Center. Even November games, there's a great vibe. It was low energy Saturday night.
The trade deadline is 3 weeks from today, Max. So is Julius Randle on this team 3 weeks from tomorrow?
I would hope not.
Ooh, really?
Wow. Yeah, he's been pretty. It's just he hasn't brought back what we need out of him, and he can opt in, which would be a nightmare, and the Wolves would have to pay him a bajillion dollars, and then it would not only have cost them Cat, but it also cost them a bunch of money that they were trying to save. I just don't know who's going to take Julius Randle at this point in the season necessarily.
Maybe the Gopher basketball team.
Yeah.
Is that legal?
I wish it was.
So why did they make the trade? Was it just to get rid of Cat?
It was a financial. They say it was a financial thing because of the whole second apron and all this stuff. And I mean, ostensibly on the surface, the trade was to save money down the line to sign some big name free agent that's never happened in Minnesota before ever in their entire.
And he's the only tradable asset they have. Ant is untouchable. Nobody wants Rudy's contract.
Yeah, they could have parted.
Jane
with
McDaniels only plays one way, but I just think that the one thing we always heard, Maxo, was when that trade went down is there's a second move.
Yeah.
I think the second move happens in the next couple of weeks.
I sure hope so, man, because one of the big reasons that they made the trade, you would think, was to give Naz Reid a more prominent role, and that hasn't happened
yet,
right? Yeah. And that's a guy you got to keep around, man.
Hawk, here's what's going to happen Monday night.
Let's hear it, brother.
So,
listen to the Hulkster.
There is no better quarterback in the nation against man-to-man defense than Will Howard. He has the highest quarterback rating out of 130 Division I quarterbacks against man-to-man. No one in the country plays more man-to-man defense than Notre Dame.
Oh.
The other fact that maybe is in Ben's favor, as Ben is taking Notre Dame +8, is Notre Dame has covered 11 straight games. I'm taking Ohio State 38, Notre Dame 24.
Thank you for your honesty.
Whoa.
And this game counts as 2.
Yeah, we're going to put $50 in this. I'm up 16 games to 10 over a long, long college football season. And the final game here on Monday night, $50.
Slow down, guys.
Yeah, look out. Watch out. Cory, quit gambling.
That ruins families.
We got to go to break because we got .com Tom next.
Yeah, let's ask him about why the Viking season imploded. Tom Pelissero after this. Thanks, Fargo Flash.
Bye.
The Fan.
The Power Hour, it's live. It's at KFAN.com/watch. You can thank Quantum Fiber for the Power Hour. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed.
Yeah, you might be saying, why is it? I mean, it's only 7:46. Why is it? Because Tom Pelissero is on with us from the NFL Network. He has no television today, so we can go a little later, which is good because we got to him late. But thanks to our friends at Bell Bank, his name is Tom Pelissero, and he comes to us from his palatial mansion just outside of Palm Springs, where he suns day in and day out, drinks his coffee with his own face on his coffee cup. Was that your own face on your coffee cup?
It's an oldie but a goodie. That's me and Doug the dog from years ago. I was on TV with Ian Rappaport and Patrick Claybon. So
that's pretty cool.
I like to have a little me in the morning.
You know what? A little me time. I'm with you. I got you. I got you.
That.
I get to ask the first question, and I get to also say thank you to Bell Bank. But I need clarification on something because I haven't heard anybody else talk about it, and I'm sure you have all the answers. Tom Pelissero, NFL Network stud. How can you call a penalty when you didn't throw a flag, when it's obvious that as a referee you looked up at the replay screen on the big screen, saw the penalty, and then called it? That's not legal, is it? Because that's exactly what happened, Tom.
Short version, no. You can't do that. There are rules that have changed in terms of the communication between the officials. You know, they're all on headsets now, and they're talking to each other. There are specific plays that are you're allowed to have communication with the replay official up in the booth. Obviously, New York is in communication, but putting down a flag is still not allowed on any subjective types of fouls. You do it on things like 12 men on the field. You can go back and replay and fix certain things, but subjective fouls, the answer is no, you can't.
So what? Okay, so then what's the follow-up to that? What's the league going to say or do? Is there any explanation? Is there any accountability for them just arbitrarily and subjectively just throwing flags and penalizing us?
By the way, you're being asked that question by Ben Lieber's shoulder. Ben, if you would scoot over just a little bit into the camera.
Okay, all right, you know.
Great arm on that shirt, though.
It really is. That's a good look. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The ladies tune in to see you.
Listen. There's a lot of different stuff that the league deals with all the time. That game was enough of a mess that I'm not sure that anything, necessarily one play is going to change it. Matthew Stafford making a 2-degree motion with his wrist and getting credit for an incomplete pass instead of a fumble probably sticks with people a little bit more because there's no time prior to, this year where you would have seen that just because, you didn't have replays, you didn't have high definition. Like, you watch it live, it's a fumble. You watch it super, super slow-mo, high definition. Yeah, okay, he's trying to flick the ball. Is that the intent of the rule? We can go through all those different things here, but it's part of the reason, too, that, as much as everybody's like, have everything reviewable, everything subject to replay, let replay assist fix every play, it's a disaster waiting to happen because exactly what you're talking about is exactly why I am not for, and the competition committee long has not been for the expansion of replay in general, much less replay assist, weighing in on subjective types of fouls or putting flags down by somebody who's not on the field, which is the moment that it looks like Big Brother is weighing in. You have real questions about the integrity of the game and, whether results are being manipulated, even though those things are, not generally realistic. It just raises questions. And anybody who wants to doubt the validity of the game then has extra ammo. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation because Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent have said, they're in favor of certain fouls becoming reviewable and of allowing the replay official to put a flag down for things like a face mask penalty, which would have been great the first time around for the Vikings against the Rams. But there's so many other calls that are much more gray than that. I personally think it's going to be as much, if not more of a mess than it was back 5-6 years ago when they tried to do the pass interference thing and it failed immediately.
So give me your best guess for the next couple of months on what happens with KOC, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and Brian Flores. Where do they go? And if they stay, how much money do they get to stay?
Well, all right, let's start with Brian Flores because that's the most immediate one here. Flo's got interviews. He's interviewing with the Jaguars tomorrow. He's supposed to talk with the Jets and the Bears. At last check, those were not yet set up, but I imagine they're all happening in the next few days here. Once you're out of the playoffs, it's no longer like, hey, you got this 24, 48-hour window. It's just whenever you can come in. You're still only allowed to do virtual, which is a new thing within the past couple of years where now even though you're out of the playoffs, you still have to be on Zoom, which is kind of, illogical, but it's related to them trying to slow down the process to better promote equity, even though it's Brian Flores that's the one who's not being able to interview in person here. The NFL wants to slow down these processes as much as possible. In terms of where he potentially could go, as far as I know, he's in play in all three places, but he has not yet interviewed in any of those places. And as we've talked about many times, there's a lot of questions that Flo's going to have to answer that don't have to or do not pertain to how brilliant he is as a tactician, how good of a coach he is. I know that Flo has taken proactive steps this year to, foster better relationships with players and, having Thursday fellowship events and, bringing guys together. He's definitely, he's taken some of those cues and he's answered them, but he's got to go and talk with these various teams. So TBD on that right now. I wouldn't say he's the front runner for any job, but that's largely because he hasn't even talked to anybody just yet. In terms of, Kevin and Kwesi, you're talking about a team that's made the playoffs twice in 3 seasons. They won 14 games this year, even though they didn't have a rookie start a single game, and their first-round draft pick missed the entire season because of injury. So I think that Kevin's established himself. If he's not the coach of the year, he's certainly one of the top young coaches in the game. The question is going to be, 3 years. He's not won a playoff game. He's had 2 really good entertaining seasons in which I would say they played above the level of the personnel, at a lot of times. But, the top level coaches right now are all making $14+ million a year. And there's about a handful, 5 or 6 that are making 17+. So are the Vikings going into that territory with the Andy Reids and Mike Tomlins and Sean McVay, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh? Are they going into that stratosphere? Or is it, can you get a deal done for less than that? The leverage for Kevin O'Connell is I've got 2 really good seasons. My contract's up in a year. If we don't get this deal done, just like, with players who are looking at free agency, there's no franchise tag for coaches. And so if they don't, come to him with a top shelf type of a deal, he can coach it out and then, see where things are next year. So that's to be determined. Those are conversations that are going to happen in the coming weeks and months. I don't anticipate there's anything to this idea of them trading Kevin O'Connell. Teams generally aren't in the business of trading away really good young coaches. There's not a lot of reason for it. And Kwesi and Kevin have been tied, obviously from the start here. So I would think that there's going to be a lot of discussions with the Wilfs and the usual end of season meetings that they do here. The logic would tell you that both these guys are going to end up getting extended. But with O'Connell in particular, it's going to be pricey. And you have to ask yourself, if they come to him and, I'm throwing out a number here. Let's say they come to him at $10 million a year, which would still be in the upper half of the league, but it would not be in those upper tier of coaches. Does Kevin take that money, lock it in, and figure I'm going to go win the Super Bowl next year and then they're going to redo my contract anyway? Or do you go, you know what? I'm going to coach this thing out. That can bring a lot of stress and pressure on himself, on the staff, and everybody else. But those are some of the moving parts here. One way or another, I would be shocked if Kevin O'Connell is not the Vikings coach in 2025.
Where, if you had to guess and be right, where does Sam Darnold end up next season?
I would still say, Sauce, that the smart money would be on Sam Darnold being back in Minnesota. And if anything, what happened in those last two games might make it simpler to get him back. The way that the franchise tag, operates and the way that it influences these markets is really if the price on a long-term deal is higher than what the tag is, then that makes it leverage for the team. If the tag is at or above what the deal might be, that can become leverage for the player. In other words, let's say the Vikings think that a deal for Sam Darnold, again, I'm just coming up with a number off the top of my head. If they think that a deal for Darnold is $35 million per year, then using the franchise tag at $40 million a year is actually an advantage to Darnold. Because the moment the franchise tag's applied, every agent's going to go, the immediate calculation is one tag this year is $40 million. Next year it would be $48 million. That's 88 over 2. That's the baseline. I'm not doing anything less than that. So that can be, leverage for the player. The question is just going to be, and what they're going to have to figure out, what is the market for Sam Darnold? You would have said a couple of weeks ago that, maybe somebody does just go whole hog all in and give him a $50+ million contract. Not even necessarily because he's, on the same level as those guys, but that's just how free agency works. In that case, you'd be thinking, if we can't get a deal done, we may as well tag him. Buy time for J.J. McCarthy to get fully healthy. And no, they're not trading J.J. McCarthy. No matter what anybody said or tried to report, they were never trading J.J. McCarthy. Or if you think you can get a deal done for less than that, and Darnold could be in a place that still loves him based upon the body of work. The last two games were not good. I don't think anybody would lie to that. Does he take, less than that and just get the deal done and get some level of security that, hey, JJ's still recovering. He's not going to be ready to start next season, not physically, but I'm saying just overall readiness. Let's just take the deal. You're going to be starting in 2025 for the Vikings. These are, complicated types of things. The fact that for 15 games, he looked like he was playing at a borderline MVP level. And the last two, you would say this is a guy who, this is the bad Sam Darnold we've seen in the past. It definitely complicates things. But the most logical outcome for all parties has always been Sam Darnold is coming back. The question is just, can he get a deal done? And if you can't, do you use the tag? Or do you say, go ahead and see what your market is, and we're probably going to get this deal done because this is the best place for you.
All right, so let me ask you another complicated question, Mr. Tom Pelissero. Thanks.
We're deep in the weeds this morning.
It's Thursday. We are.
Had no caffeine. We're rolling with it. Go for it, Lieber.
This is going to be really hard for you to answer, but all that being said, what do you think the fans would want? If that was the case after the last two games, and the idea and the feeling and the writing on the wall was the Vikings were going to bring Sam back on whatever team-friendly, fair player deal it was, what do you think the fans will think of that?
Well, this goes back to our conversation a couple of weeks ago, Ben, where you and I went back and forth on, what do you do with Sam? What do you do with JJ? I think it boils down to this, and where fans have to level set, which is there's going to be another veteran quarterback on this team in 2025. Is that Sam Darnold? Is that Daniel Jones, who's going to be a free agent? Is that somebody else that's out there? There's not a lot of veteran quarterbacks who are available. It's basically Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Darnold, all the quarterbacks who were taken in 2021, not named Trevor Lawrence. So Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, they're all out there in addition to Fields. Somebody's going to have to be available, and somebody's got to be ready to start in week 1 of 2025, because maybe JJ comes in and in training camp, he's lights out. It looks like he's ready to roll, and they start him week 1. I would say from a, covering your ass standpoint here, you need to have a veteran on the team. So do you want that to be Sam Darnold, or do you want it to be the unknown? you want to bet that the Sam Darnold we saw for 15 weeks, 16 weeks is the guy that you're going to get? Or are you fearful that the guy that played the last 2 games that was an outlier and he missed more throws and he looked like he wasn't comfortable, are you worried about that? I mean, I would say if you lined up those options, right? Darnold, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, let's throw in Jimmy Garoppolo into the mix. There's some other, backup, Joe Flacco. If you line up all those guys, I would think the one you go is, you know what, we've at least seen Sam do it. I think it just comes down to the money in this thing. I mean, I can't tell anybody how to feel. I get, the 60-year history of the Vikings would tell you that, it's always going to end the way that it did these past couple of games here. But you also saw that Sam is functional. And remember now, this is and has always been a bridge to what they think is a special type of quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. And yes, when he's walking around the sideline in a shirt and shorts, he looks like he's built like me, and that, makes everybody freak out. The guy can play football. He's never going to be the biggest dude. He's never going to have the biggest arm, but he's a really, really good player, and they believe in him. If it's Sam Darnold for 8, 12, 17 games versus Daniel Jones for that amount versus Jimmy Garoppolo for that amount, what do you want? I would think there's a lot of people, if you break it down that way, would say, you know what, we can deal with Sam Darnold until JJ is ready, but you have to have somebody else. You can't just go, it's going to be JJ, and then, we'll have Nick Mullins back them up.
But isn't this the exact same argument last year with Kirk at $50 million or Darnold at 10, right? Like, Darnold's better than anybody you just named, but it's about paying Darnold 40 or 50 million when we could pay Daniel Jones 5.
It's about having the money to put a team around him.
Right.
You're absolutely right on that, Corey. And so if you're thinking this is sooner than later going to be J.J. McCarthy's team, and if somebody else is willing to pay Sam Darnold $40 million a year, you might go, hey, we're not going there. I mean, the Vikings made an offer to Kirk last year. It was just not close to what the Falcons' number was. And that wasn't because the Vikings didn't necessarily think they could win with Kirk. It was about they had other priorities. They needed to put a team around him to win. That's going to be the same calculus with Sam Darnold here. If I'm, just kind of shooting a number out there, if you go back, and I think we talked about this before, but Baker Mayfield's deal was 3 years for $100 million. And he had a really good season on a 1-year cheap contract with the Bucs. They did an extension that basically locked him in for a year with an additional partial guarantee in the second year that kind of gave him a window and an out. Is there a pathway to do a deal like that with Sam Darnold at a similar inflation-adjusted number? That inflation-adjusted or cap-adjusted number would be right around 35, 40 million. So if you can't get a deal done, do you tag him? Do you say nobody's going to give him 40 million? I know this. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. There's always a level of desperation. Last year, there was one bidder on Kirk Cousins. One. The only other bidder was the Atlanta Falcons. But because they, hindsight's 2020, but they at the time said, we've got to get this guy. He's the only one out there who's a starting caliber quarterback. We got to pay what it takes. We got to do what it takes to get him in. And they let him walk. The Vikings are always going to look at this in terms of value. They're always going to look at this in terms of overall team building. If the price gets too high on Sam Darnold, he's going to walk. If they think they can get a deal done at a reasonable number, or if they decide maybe it's a 1 year, or maybe it is instead of tagging him, maybe you negotiate a 1 year number that's a little bit less. That's all going to depend on what Sam and his agents, RJ Gonser and that group, what they feel like the market is. I still think that the most logical outcome of all this is Sam Darnold stays, and that's because the Vikings need a guy who knows the system and can come in and play until J.J. McCarthy's ready. And Sam Darnold played the best football of his career those last couple of games notwithstanding.
Okay, let's move past and outside the quarterback room. So I actually have a fan question for this. Is coincidentally not. This is Bella from Bell Bank. Thank you, Bella. One of the workers there. Great question, Bella.
Bella Bank is what I call it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And Bella wants to know this offseason, what do you think? You've seen a lot of football. You've seen a lot of championship level football. We think that we have the makings of a championship level football team and organization. Where do you think the tier one, when it comes to free agency, the tier one priority is going to be? Interior offensive line, interior pass rushing defensive front, cornerback, safety, or RB1? What do you think is the most important position to probably sink a lot of that salary cap money into?
Well, the problem with the guards, the interior line in general, is the top guys get ridiculous money. And there's a lot of times where a guard gets 16, 18, 20 million, and you don't necessarily feel that impact, just because that's a position where historically, the really good teams have found interior offensive linemen in the mid rounds, and those guys have ended up being good. And when we're talking about mid round guys, these are basically minimum salary dudes that you can plug in and use your cap dollars on the tackles and other spots. So, without, fully analyzing the guard market, Trey Smith is the top one from the Chiefs. They'll probably get a deal done with him. Who are you going out there and paying to try to solidify that unit? I mean, those are all, things they got to analyze, but I would be reluctant to spend huge money on that spot, just because, if you draft well and if you find the right values with people and you got an offensive line coach like Chris Cooper, you probably can make do with a little bit lesser types of players. I would say the secondary probably is really high on the list, because they've just got so many older players and guys in contract years. We'll see. Harrison Smith's been on a year-to-year type of plan. Steph Gilmore was on a one-year deal. Byron Murphy's deal, he had his best season. He's not going to be cheap to bring back. And I believe Shaq Griffin was on a one-year deal as well. So basically your whole secondary, Cam Bynum's a free agent too. I mean, you're talking about literally almost everybody in the secondary you're going to have to address. That's a spot where I would think, whether that's through trades, free agency, the draft, there's got to be a heavy focus there. And then in terms of running backs, I think they showed it last year that, they gave Aaron Jones $10 million, I believe it was, on a one-year deal, and he played well on that. You might be able to look at the running back market in this offseason and say, we're kind of going to, we're going to find whatever the value spot is. And maybe that's Aaron Jones, who played really well when he was healthy. Obviously, Aaron's, he's 30 years old and he gets banged up and he's got soft tissue stuff and whatnot. But, outside of when he was dealing with that rib injury, which, that's a long story about what was going on there when he had some of the fumble issues later. He was wearing this weird rib pad that had like a notch on it, and he wasn't holding the ball normally. He explained all this to me a few weeks ago, and basically he wasn't holding the ball to his body the way he was. So they had to get him a new pad with that notch basically taken out, and then he didn't fumble again. That was the weird story at midseason, when all of a sudden he had issues with ball security. But he played well over the course of the season. If he was $10 million this year, he's probably a little less than that next year. That's kind of how this entire thing goes. I would think bringing him back and then drafting running backs is probably more logical than going out there and spending big money, one of the running backs that's available.
Thanks for the info, Tom. That was awesome. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
See you guys next week. Thanks,
Thank you,
Bellbank.
Tom. See ya.
Tom Pelissero, NFL Network.
Yeah,
thanks
you
to
again.
Bellbank.
Bellbank, and go to KFAN.com, put in the keyword Bell, and nominate your charity for the Pay It Forward program, $1,000 to your charity of your choice. Thanks to our friends at Bell Bank. KFAN.com, keyword Bell.
Fan 5 in a second. Headlines later. More with Ben Lieber after this on The Fan.